to my knowledge, had this kind of opportunity so that our staff who have wonderful, wonderful ideas can actually bring those ideas to fruition on different projects. So you have your cover sheets and your applications before you, but before we get into that, to make sure everybody knows everybody else, let's just go around the room and introduce yourselves. I'm Heidi Hawks, I'm the library director, and I'm representing today the library. Dick,
Okay.
do you want to go?
Sure. Dick Quidick, Chaska Friends.
Nick Kasabi, the Assistant County Administrator.
Patrick Jones, manager here at Chanhassen, Victoria. I'm representing the library management team.
And I'm Bob, I'm recording.
I'm Charles Tay. I'm part of the advisory group and I'm representing the advisory board.
Again, thank you very much for being here today. We have a fairly simple process. We have 5 grant applications. We were concerned that we would get so many applications and they would be so over the $100,000 budget that we thought we'd have to weed out some of our applications. If we approve every single grant application today to move forward to the library advisory board, it can be funded in full. So really your responsibility is to determine whether these grant applications are worthy of moving forward, or if you would prefer they not move forward. So why don't we take each grant application as they come. The first one is the mobile hotspots.
And I don't think I should participate in this since I was the branch manager who signed it. I mean, what do you think, Heidi? I don't think that's...
I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay.
Besides, we may have some questions from you.
Okay.
My understanding is that this is an ongoing funding of an existing tool,
Yes.
right?
We had an LSTA grant to fund them for the first year, a foundation grant to bridge us over for 3 years, and then hopefully this grant to continue this year. And then we either have to go back for another grant, find money in our collection budget, or stop doing it.
So the 1 year and the 3 year, it's ending this year?
Yes.
However, the county is also looking at increasing broadband access, so that may not be a problem after the first few years.
And I
It's
think
just-
with, to piggyback on that, the county initiative, I think, will make an effort to get to broadband to households that currently don't have access to reliable internet. I think the challenge would be is if someone cannot afford it, that initiative won't necessarily help that part. It'll give them access to it, but there's still potentially some cost barriers there.
I was just curious, I mean, I'm just asking, I was reading through and I had some thoughts like, how good is the coverage like for the hotspots like in the more rural areas like out in?
Anecdotally, and the evaluations that we got back, no one said that they didn't work. Unless they were trying from the middle of Lake Superior. I think they found pretty good. Again, I didn't hear otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
And I think it was interesting to see how many times those hotspots were checked out. And how many was it?
The LSTA funded ones were checked out 2,340 times. The Nelson hotspots were checked out 584 times. So just under 3,000 in a year.
And it's like 2 weeks and then renewable, or how long is
They're
it?
renewable and they go up for 1 week.
Okay. That's a lot.
Do you tend to see the same people kind of continue to check out, or is there a lot of new population?
I think it's a combination of both. There's a group of 3 men at the senior center who live above Laconia, who just keep checking them out over and over again.
They're onto it, yeah.
They got it figured out. And then I know there's a patron here at Chanhassen who I see always has one on hold. But there's really no way to judge that. I mean,
Right.
There's no way to dive into that data that I know.
Okay.
The hard part with this program is how do you promote? Most of the ways we promote things are internet through electronic internet access, when these people don't have internet access in the first place. So what we're trying to do is get people who come into the library normally use a computer, buy every computer in this building at Victoria that says you can get internet at home, ask about mobile hotspots.
Do you know what the average life of one of these units is?
We've had like 4 die, 5.
We've had a few die, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's just an irregularity.
Yeah.
They're normally supposed to last 3 to 5 years.
Mm.
I mean, that's what when we research them going in.
How fast are those, the connectivity to G, or is it 5 gigahertz, or?
It's not 5G. It's
2.4.
broadband. It's really good. I mean, I've watched movies on it. I've tested with a laptop, and then my home computer I connected to it and had multiple videos going. You know,
Right.
like a Netflix and a YouTube.
Right,
With you know, it can take up to 8 devices on one.
currently, yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that. You know, if they're watching movies with 8, that wouldn't work. But if they were, 2 or 3 devices, works great.
Is there a bandwidth limit? I mean, like, I know that my Xfinity has a 1.2 terabyte usage limit a month. Is there a limit, or do they charge us an increment after a certain amount?
No, release it per month.
And it does have a limit. It says it on the little box that it's a 20 gig limit, but it doesn't stop at that point, and it doesn't throttle. So we're renting them per month, and it's unlimited. So people can go right by that. We've had a few calls, people saying, it says that we hit our limit, but it's still working. And we're like, well, then just keep using it. It's just fine. So they don't have to do anything. So learned a couple of funny calls from
Sure.
I think what the hotspots have enabled us to do is reach out to audiences we have not been
Right.
able to reach, and to certainly collaborate with county departments with whom we have few collaborations or none.
So this will fund us in '22. Thoughts about what '23 or after that might look like? Will we maybe going back here, looking for other funding sources?
I think we have to go back to here. It's really hard to find funding sources because of the high per capita income in this area. The LSTA, when we originally sold this to LSTA, we used Chaska. Originally we said they're only going to go to Chaska, Watertown, and North Young America, where there was either lower income or lack of digital access to high connected internet. But what we found was those were not the only communities that needed them. So we kind of shifted halfway through and moved some of them to Chanhassen. So having said that, getting a grant, another grant, is going to be really hard to sell when you have Victoria and Chanhassen and other parts of Chaska with such high income. So I think we'll come back to the Dahlke, but eventually we're going to have to say, the Dahlke people eventually, this board is eventually going to say, no, come back for this 3 years. We're not going to fund it anymore. It's going to have to come out of the collection budget. So we're
So,
going to have to go in my budget, when I do my budget request for Heidi, and ask whoever Heidi gives her budget to.
Right.
I don't know exactly.
Okay.
And say this is an essential thing. We can't afford to lose a collection budget. It's only $14,000 a year. We'd like to see this funded.
did you mention that the county had a strategy for bandwidth for low income area? Like, I remember back when I moved Chaska, I did the chaska.net.
Sure.
Does anybody remember?
Yep. I had
That was an ugly one because
For 3
some
months.
days was really good, some days was like really bad.
Yep.
But I'm curious, are they going to do something like that for the county? Do you know?
A little different. So what we are looking at doing is putting out an RFP, the request for proposals to telecom companies, and trying to subsidize some of the areas where maybe it doesn't make financial sense for a telecom to come in and say, all right, we, under this umbrella, we'll put in whatever ends up being like $5 million and say, and in return, you have to give access as a telecom to all the areas of the county that are not served, both within cities and in rural areas. And that's through some of the ARP funds that we got from the feds. Access to broadband is one of the things that's eligible under there.
Because I think City of Minneapolis have a very interesting model that's really affordable and really fast.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, our model would essentially make it reasonable for these telecoms, whether it be like a MetroNet or a Comcast or Mediacom, whoever, to get to these areas that are unserved or underserved by high speed, but it's still, cable bills aren't cheap and internet bills aren't cheap, so there still might be that gap with some people.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, like, is there a strategy where we fund this and at some point it flips to that model to provide the affordability and the accessibility for those who needs it?
Yeah, I think definitely it's going to help with especially some of the rural population, where maybe it's just an access issue, where they don't have access to the high speed, but it won't necessarily help someone that just can't afford internet if they have access to it.
Okay, understood.
I mean, I would say overall I'm supportive. I don't know if you're looking for a vote or.
How do you want to do that? Do you want to talk about it in more detail, or?
Well, does anyone else have any other questions? I would actually like a vote.
Sure.
So whenever you're prepared.
I'm good.
I'm ready to vote. I'd say yes to approving this grant.
Yeah, I'm saying yes to approve this grant. I think it's a good tool that we use for our community.
Yes, I agree as well.
And I will abstain from voting until I answer questions. No, I don't think it's right for me to vote on something I hope right.
No.
Sure.
Understand totally. And Nick,
Yes. Yep.
and I'm a yes as well. So this will move forward to the board. Second one is a digital conversion lab, and that would be 2 sets of the digital conversion lab, one for the eastern portion of this county, one for the western portion of the county, and of course, putting them in portions of the county, putting 2 sets enables us to, if one set should suddenly have problems, you still have the other set that's available. And it takes analog information and changes it to digital. I remember when my in-laws took all of their VHS tapes and converted them to digital and then started asking their friends and family to come over and watch them. And of course, their friends and family were quite perturbed because Dickie and Evelyn had the money to put into converting them, but most people don't. And so this is a wonderful way to allow people to keep storing historical memories for themselves.
Reading that, it looks like a VHS, slides, the whole thing, that, yeah, you can buy it, but it costs more than it's worth when you're converting your own. So this appears to be a great project to have at the library. You can bring in your slides or photos and convert it.
Is this something that the library would do for them, or would they just go to a room and do it themselves?
They would go to, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Heidi.
They would go to a room and do that after the library staff had taught them how to do
Okay.
it.
Yeah, because I noticed that you had budget for like training and all that stuff. Like, so would there be additional, like we had to allocate facilities for this too, right? Like a room or
We'd have to have a room that's made
Right.
available for them.
would that room need to be like soundproof because they're going to be playing stuff? Or,
You know, that, when we talked about the new Chaska library, we talked about making soundproof studio,
right.
but we'd have to look into what we could do, for example, in Chanhassen.
Chances are it wouldn't matter because images, no sound. A VHS tape, it's not as if you play the tape, project it, and then use a recorder.
Right.
You're going to play the tape into a box, and the box is going to dump it out into digital format. So within the box, the sound from the tape is going to be fed to the digital portion of it, and it'll never see the outside world.
Yeah, I'm thinking that
That's
with some people.
the converters
it's
are
fine. I guess you can put headphones.
Yeah, you could be listening to it if it's set up to that you want to add your own voice to that.
That'll be different. It's a
That's a
recording
little
studio.
different. Then you it's soundproof, but even then it's
You
not.
can always still put on the headphones.
You can headphones, and if you have any kind of a mic that's close, that'll delete most of that. Discriminate against the outside sounds.
And then do you think will the whole equipment be a standalone? It won't be networked, or will it be in the network?
I think it would be standalone. I think the equipment would be standalone
Yeah, that's fine.
for,
That's a good idea too.
yeah. Just because people would be bringing in so many different types of media that,
Yeah,
just for safety.
and privacy.
Right.
Something's cached, you're in trouble.
Well, and potentially have some USB drives for sale or something, so people could, buy a drive that they could then dump it to it.
And we
If they don't have their own.
But a USB drive, yeah, that means, yeah. Right.
Just have it available for people to buy one if they don't have their own.
Will this be free as a rental thing, or do we charge for services, do you think?
No, this would be free.
Okay.
There are, in the budget is to buy zip drives for people who don't have one. So that's like $119. I'm not sure where that estimate came from.
I can see people just start using, once they figure it's here, they will start.
They will be there every
They
day.
will be there. I got a ton of stuff I can do to start too, so.
So,
Go ahead.
is it pretty user friendly? Like, if we show someone a couple times, is something that people generally can pick up and kind of run on their own, or will there be a lot of hand-holding along the way?
I think the first time it'll be showing them how to do it, but also connecting that to the visual displays. Like we could have a video of how to do the first step, or screenshots on a laminated sheet. Dakota County has a wide variety of setups in their lab, and they literally have 3-ring binders, and it's step-by-step picture. This is the first step, second step, and most people do it on their own. I mean, it seems like they need an introduction to it, obviously. And we have tech associates available to help with some of this. I think once you get people started, like what you were starting to say.
Yeah, people, once they figure it out it's there, I'm sure a lot of older people like me has a lot of crap can transmit to a digital. Yeah.
Take your whole boxes of VHS tapes and create
Still,
2 DVDs.
I open my armoire and there's still 5 rows of VHS tapes. I can convert the whole size.
Okay, so we're going to teach you how to do it, and then you can teach us. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, again, built into the budget is money to train the librarian. So I think there's an
Yeah, I saw
expectation
that.
that it may not simply be plug and play, that people are going to need some hand-holding through this.
Is there ever any licensing issues as far as, like if I take a copy of a, commercial video or something and want to try and convert it, is there ever any issues with that, or is that fine to do? It can only be home videos?
I think a major parameter of this would be that this is for home videos, because that is a violation of copyright.
Right.
No matter how you look at it, it's a
Right.
violation
Yeah,
of
right,
copyright.
So do you,
But I think with the goal of this
you get to
being,
sign a paper that says they're not going to, because when you walk in the room, you're not going to be there just watching them do stuff, right?
right, I think a waiver makes sense.
Yeah.
So a commercial VHS tape is not of much use. If you convert it to digital,
It's not
if you've
very
ever
Quality's not there.
seen, if you ever go back, somebody had some old tapes. I just hooked up their VHS player at the TV set, and to test it, they had a commercial, and it's like, that's awful. There's absolutely no way. I mean, if you did that, you'd go, throw it away later because it's useless. You're used to HD and so rich, all this other stuff. No.
You'll do it once.
Something to tell them not to do it, but there's not going to be a big driver because
They'll do once and they'll regret it. That's basically it.
yeah, if it's your kid's dance recital, it doesn't matter if the quality's not there. You still
But
want
you own the copyright of that if you recorded it, so.
right. So and even if the quality's not great, but it's still you're going to use it anyway. So those you want.
Yep. Good point.
Again, it's for those historical memories.
Yep.
We have a lot of slides that would be nice to make digital because there's like a shoebox full of slides. At least digital, you could put it in folders and have some chance of seeing it. And the slides, no, they're in the basement.
And you never know when a high school kid or a junior high kid gets exposed to this, they might want to help out. I mean, it's kind of a neat skill to learn how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just to clarify, so we have space available within our current systems to put this equipment?
The equipment is not that large.
Oh, okay.
The first time I saw the equipment was at St. Paul Public, and they had a little room, probably from this post to that wall right there. So,
Okay.
and they had a number of different units, including the conversion station, which was their most popular item. I was surprised. It was the most popular item.
Well, just like Chaska doesn't have much space, but one of those small study rooms,
Mm-hmm.
I think would be, from what I've seen through conversion equipment, plenty of space. And when it was there, they could dedicate one of those spaces to that, and it wouldn't be, since it's going to at least move back and forth somewhat.
If I read this right, I think it would be in Waconia and here, you think? Or?
Well, how I read it was that may be where they are home based, but they're going to move. Or the idea that there's the ability to move them, so you could have a week at Victoria saying, this item will be here for this week if you want to come try it out.
Okay.
There's something about being portable.
That's the way I read that too, that it'd be shared back and forth, maybe home one place, but share.
And the equipment is fine if you move it around. It's not going to affect the calibration or affect the operations of it, so.
I'm a little worried about the space part of it. Even in this big building, is the main thing. We get asked for a lot more places for people who want a small study room than want to do digital conversion. So I'm very leery about giving up this study room here to do this. I could see setting it up more in a public area with a couple big tables. They'd have to be, unless there was some county money coming, they'd have to be meeting room tables, which don't have the most professional look to them. And put it in that big area we created. That's going to take some county doing some wiring, to put some juice in there. So I think, to me, I think the idea here is good. I think the mechanics of it are problematic, perhaps. And I'd suggest cutting this in half and starting with one. And maybe putting it in Laconia, getting the kinks out of it, getting the other places up to speed. So that's my main comment. My other concern is, I think we always look at when we compete with private industry. You know, and public libraries were so entranced. I mean, when we first started getting into videos, that was a big concern. And there are companies that do this, and yes, as the grant says, they are expensive. So I realize this is helping with the digital divide, but at the same time, I just get worried when we directly compete with a private entity, because there's a place in St. Louis Park that does that. So that's a concern, not a reason not to do it, but I just wanted to express that.
So competing with private, for some of these things, you can take the competition as far as you want. You could say that the county providing access to computers.
Yeah.
It's competing with private industry who wants to sell computers. So saying, there's the public good of being able to do this because it's unlikely to take business that those companies would get.
Okay.
The people with the money to go to the commercial company either have or will go. The people who are going to do it themselves would have never gone to the commercial company. So the commercial company is unlikely to have lost any business because it's offered through here. And whether it's a study room or a table, unless you want to do voiceover, conversion, a study room's call it convenient. You could lock the door if you wanted to, and that sort of stuff to keep it secure. But a table is also fine because you're feeding something into a box, a VHS tape or a series of slides, and it's all electronics. So it doesn't matter. Somebody being around is not going to be a problem.
I don't, but I think I'm seeing more for a straight conversion, let's say from analog to digital. When they want to do a voiceover, they can take the digital and cut and slice it however they want it
Once it's digital, do it then.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, if you keep it that way, if you can put it out on kind of a table here, they can get to it and they can just do it.
And then do the conversion.
Right. It's fine.
And, the request is for both. I think there's enough need that I would probably just as soon do both sets right at the beginning, but that's my opinion.
I'm fine either way. I mean, maybe you want to do one and prove the concept and prove that the once the community hears about it, that they pick up speed, and then then they'll really appreciate the second one after that. But either way, it's fine with me.
Yeah, I'm fine either way too. The only thing I think about is sometimes when you buy technology at a different time, there could be a slightly different version. And
So if
that
you
plays
bought it at
into
the same time, then the instructions would be the same.
Yeah.
Absolutely variable. Yeah.
From a technology equipment standpoint, do you when you think it's a one-time buy, or do you need to see that maybe over 5-6 years they need to upgrade those? Do you see any vision of that?
Well, I think the goal of it is this is a starting point. Wouldn't you agree, Heidi? That this is what we're looking at right now, with the possibility, I think you've mentioned it, of a sound studio or doing voiceovers.
Right.
And these are things that, maybe with the new Chaska library, or as we move forward, these are things that are, kind of makerspace, if you will, but allow patrons to really expand. So if we start with this as a conversion station, this could lead to kids doing voiceovers. I mean, I've been down to Dakota many times to see their setup, and they've got a kid down there that's recorded an album, and it's been published and released. Wow. An album worth of music, and he played like most of the instruments, and he had a couple of friends come in and help him out. But that was in the library space, and you just look at that. I don't know if you know what studio time costs, but Paisley Park is, when it was in business, it was a couple $100 an hour just to go in there and rent a room and have a producer and that sort of thing. So if we could provide that for a kid that's the next Prince, or even just a kid that wants to try it,
It's meets the library goal of learning.
Right, right.
They can learn how to do that. If they want to do a lot, then they're going to run out of time, then they have to go somewhere else. But it gets them learning. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. And with one, it'd be tough to, if you're going to move it branches, then it's every 5 weeks you get to have someone, to give it a fair chance, a little more access by having the 2 sets that are proposed. I prefer going with the 2 sets.
So we can vote.
Sure.
I'm for it. I vote for.
I'd support it as written with the 2 sets.
I would also support it as written.
I would vote no.
And I would vote for it with the 2 sets. So that goes on to the library board as well.
One technical question I guess I have, maybe I should have asked this before, but I know on some of them they haven't met yet with the friends groups. I assume that as part of our approval, they'll.
They have to meet with the friends first.
Okay, perfect.
I had one of the branch managers that said, well, we really don't need to meet with the friends groups. And I said, yes, you do.
That answers that question.
Well,
The friends need to know.
they do.
And the other thing that helps is that if the friends know that this is coming, that's another publication source that everybody.
The next one is the elementary STEM kits. And earlier this year, we had the youth services librarians who had developed a plan to have kits that actually went home so students could learn with a hands-on kind of unit about science, technology, engineering, and math skills. And they found that they were popular, but they hadn't anticipated that there would need to be replacements for some of the pieces in the kits, because that's what happens. Things break or they simply need to be replaced. They also had not anticipated that so many kids and their parents and school teachers and libraries would be using the kits, and so they needed multiple copies, and so that is what this elementary STEM kits project addresses.
I know this is something that one of the goals you mentioned, that they're on a waiting list. My wife called, we couldn't get them in time to take them and work on them with our grandkids.
Yeah.
We're one of the target audience, and she thought that, well, this would be a great idea to do this. So I really like this idea.
We currently have 12, and then it's doubling it, and then so that will make the current 12 like to the same level as the new 12. Is that what?
Right.
I
It's
understand?
based in the elementary.
Are they mostly where are they located? Like where are they currently?
They've never been located any place because they've always had holds on them. So they really don't have a home. I mean, eventually we're gonna have to figure that out. Chanhassen has some space for them, but it's not gonna walk in and grab one item.
Oh, okay. So it's
I
just that
assume
popular.
that if it gets that way, then we'll find a place to put them.
So when I first read this, I thought, shouldn't this be a school program rather than a library program? But I can see people using it. in addition to school programs.
Yeah, overall, I think it's a great program, and I didn't have any questions on the application.
So, only question I have is that, so we have 12, and then we're going to get another 12. Do we review what's in the 12 and say, do we want to, is there an upgrade process or an improvement process also in consideration? Like maybe what we have is older, now we have a newer set,
What they-
newer stuff.
They included, part of this grant request is money to replace
To beef
missing
up
parts.
the old ones.
Yeah, I would assume they would take that opportunity to take care of it.
I don't have smaller kids anymore, so
Yeah,
I don't know what's all in there. If my kids were younger, we would probably be doing the same thing right now, all this stuff there.
And the youth services librarians really take great pride in what they've created with this. So yes, they would be
okay.
reviewing it to make sure it's the best that it can be for the public.
Right. Is there a target age group for this though? Is it?
Elementary.
Oh yeah, sorry. Right.
I hate to be the contrarian today.
That's okay.
But this is science literacy. Is this within the domain of the grant? Because the grant says literacy, which is what they've said is a focus area, which libraries support all types of literacy, from early literacy, helping children to reach adult literacy, as well as media literacy. Projects in this area support literacy. So I don't see the Dahlke Grant as my interpretation of it is about access to literacy and literature, and STEM stuff may be outside of that.
I don't have it printed out in front of me, but I thought when I read that, things, it's enhancements of library specialized services. So I'd have to reread that, but this, the focus area of learning.
So maybe just, this should have been under learning.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. And that's not a reason to disapprove it because it's not one thing. I just don't think it's literacy. I think it's lifelong learning.
I'd agree that's probably a better,
More on the D,
Benefit.
on the learning.
yeah. But that's,
Just the technicalities. If you
yeah,
can-
technical, I agree.
So we scale back from 6 weeks to 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Because they were
but-
so popular. I'm sorry, Patrick.
No, that's what I was going to say, is they just were not getting circulated quickly enough. And we also felt 6 weeks after we had some experience, this was just too long of it.
Right.
So if you're going to use it, you're going to use it, and you're not going to reuse it over and over again.
So I'd support this with,
Yeah.
and changing that from literacy to learning, that change, and then support this application.
I would agree with that.
I agree with that. I mean, under the, and to recategorize it as a focus on learning.
Yes? I mean,
Let's do it. Okay, the next one is planting a seed at the Chaska Library. And this is the seed libraries for those of you that have gone down to Northfield or have gone down to Rochester Public Library. They have seed libraries that are available there. And they work with their master gardeners units to make available heirloom plants so that people can actually work with the seeds that were used many years ago, originally in our county. Any questions, comments?
I really like how the grant tied it in with hunger and food insecurity. I thought that was really impressive.
I like that the program is start out with seeds and then people can grow plants, bring seeds back, so you can end up with seed exchange. And the way Jeff's defined things, that fairly reasonably could expect some volunteer help with making up seed packets and doing this, working with the master gardeners for, the people who can give people advice. I think it's a nice package.
I like the fact that when you initiate the course, and once you have participation coming, and then they bring back the seed, it's self-perpetuating.
Yeah.
Like, that means they bring back the seed at the end of the year and you get it ready, and then the next year you release it again.
Yes.
And then, once you get a good experience and good population doing that, the seed itself will just always be there, because it's just gonna keep bringing it back, and you could end up getting the seed will change over time, and then you get a new set of what is the word she used, heirloom seeds for the area.
And potentially expand it to other types of seeds, but
And I think it's also important, get participation with the master gardeners and with the Minnesota Arboretum and University of Minnesota Agriculture Group. Those who really also beef up the support on that model. That'll be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, I completely agree with the Master Gardener comment. When I saw the title, I'm like, I hope this is a partnership with the Master Gardeners, and I think that's a great opportunity. I know the library has a really good partnership already, and just building off of that would be, I think the Master Gardeners will probably find a lot of value in that, and it would be a great educational component to this program as well.
The only thing is that I have a question is that if we were to do that, if this program carry forward, right, and we have the community using the seeds to grow, will a library maybe have a little patch of garden that they will grow alongside it?
that's part of
Did I miss that?
he's part of this proposal. I mean, this is just for the Chaska branch as a pilot
Right.
project, but he mentioned along the library building along 4th Street to have a demonstration plot there.
All right. I mean, it's in Chaska.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
this
first
is-
pilot project.
It's a pilot project.
Right. Sorry, my bad.
I also like the concept of making sure that we have titles within the library system that kind of provide some additional education along with the seeds and the program.
Yeah, that was a nice idea. He's spending as much money on titles as the seeds, so people may have something. I'd support this.
Okay.
I'm going to support it. I mean, to be truthful, initially I thought this should just be a master gardener project, but then I can understand the seed repository and teaching. That's good for the community, and that's something the community learns to be self-sufficient, making them growing your own vegetable. That's something that I don't know how to do.
Sure.
I might pick up something from here.
There you go. Yes, I also support it.
Yes.
And we come to our final project. And that is the next chapter book club. We talked about book clubs being kind of, and feel they're kind of for the erudite, but this particular book club was developed for those youth who are developmentally delayed and who want to be like everybody else. They want to feel the importance of what they can do. And when they've had the Next Chapter book club at various places, they found that these youth really feel that they're empowered, that their reading is just as important as somebody else's, and they're participating in a book club, which people think of as being wonderful and really something exciting. So it makes them feel that they have more value. You can tell that this one hits me in the heart.
Well, one of the things that I like about this is that it's meant for, adults. They've grown out of the regular programs. And I saw that with my brother. He was in one of those programs. He had an age and all that support was gone. So he's one who would have fit and could have, used this type of book club.
Right. And I think it gives us a new HHS department with whom we can collaborate. It makes perfectly good sense. So.
Yeah, I also noted that, I'm glad you reached out to the Carver County Home and Community-Based Services. I think they would be a great partner with an HHS there. And then also, just doing our homework and reaching out to that Next Chapter book club and, getting their input. I think it's, shows that you put a lot of effort into it.
Initially, I struggled with this, but then I read this passage, then I realized, we completely missed this group because in page 4 when it goes about the publication of International Encyclopedia of Rehabilitation, explain how adults with developmental disabilities often do not develop the emotional, social, and intellectual skills until later in life. And if they leave when they're 18 years old, when the system, education system just kind of drop them off, which when they need all these additional years of support to get to a point where they become more self-sufficient. We assume that 18 years old they should be self-sufficient and let them go, but because they are slow in their developmental abilities, it just takes them a bit longer to get there. And I think this is important.
Any other comments?
So this is just only for one branch initially. That's what the proposed pilot branch, and then so then next year if it's successful, that means we will extend that to another branch and to another branch and to another branch. My understanding. Yeah.
So I would support this one. Maybe yes for me.
Same.
Yeah. Same here.
Me too.
Then we will push these forward to the Library Advisory Board. The Library Advisory Board then, if they so choose, will make their recommendations on each of these to the county commissioners, and the county commissioners have the final say in what will happen. And Nick will talk to, if we get to that point, then I'll talk to you about how you want that presented.
Definitely.
Okay. So, that's wonderful. Well, I thank you all so much.
These are
Thank you.
great proposals.
Yeah.
People put a lot of thought into these.
I learned a lot of things. reading through them.
It's pretty interesting.
Right. Live in my little world and I'm going to read all this stuff. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Nice to see you all again. We're meeting you in the first case.
Yes.
We were done in less than an hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
Well,
would
you
have been so
know,
contrary, it would have been sooner.
Well, people have to talk about it, and because then there's
Yes.
other ideas that you need to consider, so. I appreciate it's like the concern, because we need to know what's out there.
We're like the 10th man in World War Z. You've seen that movie.
So when you say no on that one, are you concerned about the support structure for that or what?